on, May. You can do it. Non-fantasy. I believe in you. Hello everyone, my name is May, and as I have an online practical which is coming up very soon, we are going to make this, hopefully, a faster episode. So over the past 2 months, I have read, actually quite a lot. I think I've read close to 5,000 pages of literature. So I think I'm going pretty damn well, if I do say so myself. Isolation has kind of had me like, I'm bored, is there anything to do? Uni work, clean the kitchen, remember the list? That Jack Sparrow response is like all I have at the minute, yep. We'll need 3 goats, and one of us will have to learn to play the trumpet while the other one does this. I know a man who owns a goat. As I alluded to in my last wrap-up kind of video of what I've been reading, I have been trying to get back into the Stormlight Archives as the 4th book in the series, Rhythm of War, is coming out in November. I have released my wrap-up to Way of Kings as I baked scones because in Way of Kings there's a lot of jam and I suddenly really wanted something that I could put jam on, and so I was like, I gotta make scones. Generally, I'm not a jam person. So during the month of March, I purely just read Way of Kings, both parts, not just part 1, and then Words of Radiance, both parts, not just part 1. These were, so good. So good on the reread. I really want to pick up Oathbringer, but there are 2 reasons that are stopping me. One, hold back your blasphemy for a second, but I'm currently having a little bit of Sanderson fatigue. These books are so huge, and I know that's just such an excuse, but yeah, at the minute, that's the way it is. And the biggest one, actually, though, is because I haven't yet made a wrap-up for Words of Radiance, and I really want to make one before I get onto Oathbringer, because if I get onto Oathbringer and start reading it, I'm going to muddle up what happens when and what stops when. When making this, I was having trouble not spoiling as to what happens in this because I have read this book before. So, having reread this now, to make my book talk about it and do that, I'm thinking I'm going to do that while I make some konjaku jelly, because there's this really weird konjaku jelly from this brand called Happy Grass, which is incredibly funny, that my brother sent to me, and that you'll probably see that in my vlog. Anyway, Way of Kings and Words of Radiance are both 5-star reads for me. If you want a little bit of what it's about, go watch my video and you can see the beginning part where I try and explain, or go and look it up somewhere else. I don't care where you find it, just go read it. Next, I did this little Neil Shusterman, Terry Pratchett hippity hopscotch, because I suddenly got nostalgia for Terry Pratchett's Going Postal, which I've read before, but I really wanted to watch the movie, which I haven't done yet, actually. I decided that I wanted to read Going Postal, and so I found this on Audible. This is definitely a 5-star read for me. Going Postal, if you don't know what it's basically about this guy who's a con artist, a criminal, and he's finally being caught for his crimes, and he is hung within an inch of his life. So everyone thinks he's dead, but actually, Tyrant, who runs this city called Ankh-Morpork, is an incredibly good executioner who has hung him within an inch of his life that he's still alive, and now has given him one opportunity to redeem himself, that if he can get the old postal service going, then he can be allowed to stay alive and do all of his thing. So the unfortunately named Moist von Litvig sets out to do this and uncovers a whole lot of funny. Mostly this book is just hilarious. Terry Pratchett is just a funny guy, and I think this is perfect for just being super downer because I'm really missing my family and I'm really missing being outside and things like that, and I'm really hating online classes. So this was just an amazing pick-me-up kind of reread, and I loved it so much. Then as the reading rush started, I decided that I would pick up Thunderhead by Neil Shusterman, which is the 2nd book in the Arc of a Scythe series. This book got 5 stars also from me. This was such a good, middle book to the trilogy. I loved it so much. Basically, in this world, they have annihilated death. They live in a utopian society, and so instead they have these sides who go and glean certain people from the population, so therefore then you don't get population overgrowth. And all above them, they are ruled by an ultimate AI called the Thunderhead. The 2nd book, oh, it was so good. And then before I picked up The Toll, like an idiot, I instead decided that I would go back to Terry Pratchett because another book that I had ordered finally came in, and I picked up Guard's Guard, which is the first Terry Pratchett book about the Watch. I'd never read it. I know it has a dragon in it. I was like, this is cool. This is when we first get to see Lady Sybil and Vimes kind of meet and sparks fly. So awkward and cute. They're literally the cutest, awkwardest little couple, and it's adorable. Along with seeing Carrot first come into the Watch, and he's hilarious. This book, I can't really describe it other than that someone has decided that they want to put a king in the city of Ankh-Morpork. So they've decided to summon a dragon and hire someone to pretend to be a prince so that then they can install that person as king over them and then kind of puppet through that king. Very funny, politically intrigued book that just blows up in so many different directions, and it's very funny. And after Terry Pratchett, I jumped back to Neil Shusterman again and I decided to read The Toll. Wow, she was legit going so well until her camera conked out. Yeah, this is me a few days later because guess what? Like, my life just suddenly was filled with uni. So, we're just gonna really quickly keep going. Got me list again. I jumped finally back to Neil Shusterman and I finished the final installment in the Ark of the Scythe trilogy, which is The Toll. This book just blew me away. I was reading this during stay-at-home reading rush. I loved this so much. In my wrap-up for April Camp Nanowrimo, you should be able to see kind of like clips of when I finished that, but otherwise, it was just fantastic. I gave this book, I think, 4.5 stars because I didn't quite enjoy it as much as the second book, but it just, it filled out everything so much. It was so good. And finally, I jumped back to Terry Pratchett and I read his book called Nation. I've never read Nation whatsoever because it's a non-Discworld book set in an alternate Earth style thing. Kind of our world if different things had happened kind of idea, which is a thing that it tackles in the book as well. This book is basically about England is going to go crown their new king. There's a ship that's setting out to go and take this girl all the way across to where her father is in this other port somewhere else because they're immigrating and stuff. The Sweet Judy sets out, but it is wrecked by a massive tsunami and she washes up on an island as the sole survivor, bar a parrot, of the Sweet Judy. But she washes up on an island that has also been hit by a tsunami wave and everyone on the island is dead except for one boy called Mao, who was away on an adjacent island going through the man ceremony to go from being a boy to being a man. Now comes back to his island and finds that his entire, like, nation is dead. And so he's, like, just in the throes of grief, of busy trying to work out what this means for him. And then he finds the Sweet Judy, and he finds Ermintrude, who hates that name and nicknames herself Daphne. This book is then just about these two becoming friends and kind of rebuilding the nation and what it means to be a nation and discovering secrets about the nation island. The thing that particularly captured me about Nation was the fact that Mao and Daphne don't speak each other's languages at all at the beginning. And I think this is just something that, especially fantasy, tends to do horrifically terribly. It has no idea where the fine line is. It's either we don't speak each other's languages, so it's an impenetrable wall and we're just never gonna speak, or it goes the other way and you know what, like foreign languages, I just have a good ear. Yeah. Nation managed to draw this fine line between these two. At first, they're just not understanding each other whatsoever. So much so that Daphne goes to fire a gun at Mao at the very beginning, but because the gun is all wet, it just creates a spark. And Mao instead thinks that she's trying to give him a spark-producing instrument so he can build a fire. That progresses then to them kind of finally making friends and pointing out things and trying to learn each other's words for things. And then through her spending a lot of time on the island, she starts to learn the language and more things happen and kind of they start to learn her language and there's just actually a slow accretion of building up an ability to have fluency in each other's tongues without suddenly being like, oh, I know how to speak your language now. Immersion is a fan-bloody-tastic tool for learning stuff, but at the same time, language is still a thing and not removing the fact. As someone who secretly wishes she was a linguist, this just made me so happy on so many levels. Also, I liked the way it communicated them speaking different languages on the page because it didn't use, like, different language sounds on the page. They literally both would just speak their lines and it was written both in English, but they'd just be not understanding each other. It definitely just strode all the way into my crazy fascination with languages, but Nation was really good. I really liked it. It was very funny and it was just beautifully different to a lot of Terry Pratchett's other stuff because it's not set in the Discworld and I really liked that. I'm currently reading Crescent City, which is somewhere around the place. This is kind of a bit of a hodgepodge video of different times when I've filmed. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know what you've been reading. Goodbye! Definitely time for like a non-fantasy read. Come on, May. You can do it. Non-fantasy. I believe in you. Kind of. Not really, actually. I don't have that much faith. Look, just hold up. No, just try. I can try. And then we'll need 3 goats. One of us will have to learn to play the trumpet while the other one does this. I know a man who owns a goat. Good, I can do this. Now having used that list for this skit, I don't know where I am in this book anymore. Damn it!